welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, the influencer conversations. First up, an exclusive chat with Facebook. And our second conversation tonight is with India's youngest billionaire, serial entrepreneur, Divyank Turakhia. India is the top 3 when it comes to the fastest growing markets for startups anywhere in the world, and that was my conversation with Satyajit Singh. He's the head of Platform Partnerships India and South Asia at Facebook. In this exclusive chat, we spoke about why Facebook is so excited about startups in India, what they're doing specific to startups, and how the ecosystem should encourage more women entrepreneurs in the tech and digital space. Listen. Satyajit, thanks very much for joining us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow. It's exciting to be in conversation with Facebook, given just how much and how closely you're working with small businesses and startups here in India. Let's start by talking about some comments that we've picked up from your India Startup Day. You've said that when startups flourish, India flourishes. As far as your strategy here in India is concerned, it's focused on the 3 Ps, which is programs, places, and partnerships. I want to talk really about your strategy for India, where small businesses are concerned, and really your view in terms of the kind of growth and the potential that they have here in the country.
So with the 3 Ps, our 3-pronged approach to the startups here in India, what we are trying to do is the first P is programs. So we're building a lot of programs which are in alignment with the things that we think startups would need help from us. So one of the program is called Code for Next Billion, which is a program helping for startups who are building on social impact, trying to build technology to the bottom of the pyramid users. Then we're also focusing on emerging technologies, helping startups to build on top of it. So we run a program called India Innovation Hub Acceleration Program, where we are kind of training startups working on VR and AR. The third piece in our program focus is a program called She Leads Tech, wherein we are encouraging a lot more women entrepreneurs to come ahead and start their tech startups. So that was the first P around programs. The second P is places. So we've launched 2 places yet. There is a design lab in Bangalore that we opened up in partnership with NASSCOM. And there is an India Innovation Hub space that we've launched in T-Hub, Hyderabad. Design Lab is largely a place wherein we would provide mentorship and guidance to startups on design thinking, and how to build better products, etc. And India Innovation Hub will be a space for startups to connect, to network, and we would provide broad mentorship to startups there. Third P of our strategies is pretty important, and it's helping startup. It's quite a challenging task, and we believe that we would need help from a lot of partners to do this. So third P of this strategy is partners, and we are pretty happy to work with partners like T-Hub, NASSCOM, IMAI, Startup Village, etc. to kind of bring these programs and initiatives to startups in India.
Given that you have a micro view as well as a macro view, my question to you is about where you see the maximum potential for growth. What industries, what verticals, what businesses do you think startups in India should look at? I'm trying to get a sense of any trends in the digital and tech space that you can talk to our viewers about.
So there's a lot of potential. I think we are as a country, we are at an interesting stage where a lot of people are coming online. They're accessing internet for the first time, and there are millions of more who would continue to come and experience. So there is a great opportunity for startups to start building for India and start building for this millions of people who are coming online. There are various opportunities around. If you look at just social impact or good for India projects, there are various opportunities around agriculture. There's healthcare, there's education. It could be around transportation, mobility, etc. Infrastructure is a huge opportunity as well. And also, I think one of the interesting trend that we are seeing is that the startups are not only building for India and the Indian audience. Now the entire globe is a playground for them. So we are seeing a lot of startups from India who are just setting up the ground here, but also building for the world. So it's the opportunity is pretty much open. If they want to build something specific to India, there is a there is a large audience and the large consumer set waiting for them to build products for them.
But for a country like India, where most of our population, a large percentage of our population still lives in the villages, you have 84 to 90% of all workers in the country who are still in the informal space. Do you think we should be looking at more offline solutions? Do you think technology perhaps is going to help us then bridge that? Your views or thoughts on that?
From our interaction with startups, we've worked with over 200 startups in this year itself, and there are a lot of conversations that have happened around this as well. And what we are seeing is that startups are kind of building, I wouldn't say offline, but they're also focusing on not always online solutions as well. So they, if there are solutions that they're building for rural India or villages which are not always connected to the internet, they're kind of focusing on solutions which can be synced to the internet whenever the connection is available, and the users don't have to be online all the time, which is why you would see solutions like offline access, etc., being now incorporated with startups or products that they're building. And I think that would be a crucial strategy or a perspective to have in mind while building for 3 cities in India, because even though they will have internet, they may have a slightly higher end or a smartphone device to access it. They may not want to be online all the time. So there has to be a product feature or functionality that they to be built in, which enables offline access, and then the devices or the product can sync in whenever the internet connectivity is available to them.
Reports suggest that 1.5 million people are entering the workforce every month in India. My question to you is, do you think startups perhaps are really the answer to creating that kind of job pool?
We believe that when startups will grow, India will flourish. That's one of the reason behind that, because when startups will start building products, they'll start scaling, they'll bring a lot more employment in the Indian ecosystem. A lot more people will be able to find jobs, and also one of the opportunity that startups bring to the table is instead of looking for finding jobs, they can start creating jobs, which is a shift in the mindset that startups bring in the entire ecosystem. So I think that's a huge opportunity for us, and it could create many more jobs for us in the Indian ecosystem.
I want to talk Facebook specific and ask you very quickly to give us a few tips in terms of how small businesses watching this interview can effectively use Facebook to leverage their businesses. So
there are a lot of programs that we run for small businesses. Things like FB Start if you are a startup. She Leads Tech if you're a woman entrepreneur who want to start up. You can leverage all these programs. You can go to india.fb.com to know more about these initiatives and how you can be a part of it. If you want to use more about the products that are available for these small and medium-sized businesses and startups, you can also go to developer.facebook.com. And find there are various tools and products that are available that you can use for building your own products and scaling your businesses faster. In your first answer, you were talking about women in technology. You have a specific program for women in technology called She Leads Tech. My question to you is how more and more companies, how the ecosystem really needs and should come forward to encourage more women entrepreneurs and more women in technology. When we looked at and we were thinking of building programs for Indian startup ecosystem, one of the challenges that we've noticed here is the skew towards lack of women entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurs coming ahead and starting these businesses, tech-based businesses in India. Which is why we've started this program called She Leads Tech, which encourages a lot of women entrepreneurs to come ahead and build businesses, and also supports women entrepreneurs who have already taken a plunge and started their startups. What we do in this initiative is, it's based on the feedback that we've heard from a lot of women entrepreneurs on the things that they would need to be more successful. So in this program, what we do is that we provide them benefits under 4 pillars. The first one being tools and services. So anyone who becomes part of this program gets inducted to FB Start, which gives them access to over 30 free tools and services that can help them in running their startup more efficiently. The second pillar is community. So all the startups who are part of this program become a part of community, which is an online group where they can interact, they can get peer help, they can ask for feedback and share information within that circle. So all these startups, over 170 startups who are part of this program, are part of that group. Third pillar of this program is mentorship. So we do a lot of online and offline mentorship. We have 14 industry mentors who are part of this program, who interact with these startups sometimes online and sometimes offline. So we do like quarterly and monthly meetups wherein these startups can come and interact with these mentors, take feedback, take suggestions, and go back with those recommendations. Last pillar of this program is providing additional benefits like trainings. So we do special training for these startups in association with partners. So we're working with Your Story to kind of train these startups on a better storytelling. We're working with Let's Venture to train these startups on how to build better pitch decks and when is the right time to raise money, etc. So we've kind of built this program for helping women entrepreneurs to come ahead and build startups. And going ahead, what we want to do is that we've recently announced a She Leads Tech Roadshow, which will bring this program to tier 2 towns as well. And we're going to do a 10-city roadshow in India to spread more awareness, encourage more women entrepreneurs to come ahead and join this program.
Satyajit, thanks very much for your time here on the Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Let's take a break. On the other side, we are going to pick the brains of serial entrepreneur Divyank Turakhia, understand tips for starting out early for entrepreneurs. To stay tuned. With us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on The Influencer, I'm in conversation with serial entrepreneur Divyank Turakhia. Starting his first business very early and then going on to set up multiple businesses in industries that are seeing fast growth and rapid revenue acceleration. That's the story of Divyank Turakhia. He's India's youngest billionaire, and I spoke to him about whether age has been an advantage or a disadvantage for him as a serial entrepreneur, and also what the education system should do to ensure that we have more young entrepreneurs like himself. Divyank, thanks for taking the time out to join us here on the show. Congratulations, you are one of India's youngest billionaires. Just walk us through that and talk us through some of the businesses that you've set up.
It's definitely been fun, and I think that is what life is about. It is about the journey. You want to make sure that through the process of whatever it is that one is doing, when you look back, you want to feel like, hey, the whole process was fun. And I've been fortunate enough where that was almost always the case. I don't think that it's about a specific idea. Anyone can have any idea, and each of these ideas that people have can be something that they pursue and be very successful at. And it can be literally across industries, which is why when you look at the top 1,000 companies in this country or worldwide, they're not all belonging to the same sector. They're cross-sector. In terms of my idea and the things that I worked on, I think this kind of applies to everyone that is out there trying to do something. You have to look at yourself internally and figure out what is it that you're really good at. And when I was thinking about that, I realized that the reason that some of the things that I worked on were very successful was I realized that I'm good at tech and I'm good at operational efficiency. And my goal was to figure out where do I apply these core strengths in whatever business, and how do I keep applying them on an ongoing basis to make things successful.
All right, let's talk about the ecosystem here in India as far as startups are concerned. Your view really on how you've seen how you've really seen startups here in India changing. And also, what more do you think is going to take for us to be able to play on a level playing field where our global peers are concerned?
See, India is a large market by itself, just being one of the largest economies of the world. As you already know, we would be the 6th largest economy. But that said, we have a different kind of unique problems that exist within our country. For instance, if you look at our per capita income, it's one of the lowest in the world. So while our total economic size might be large, we realize that each individual can only spend a much smaller rupee value or dollar value because the per capita income is lower. Now, in terms of our startups ecosystem, I think we've come a long way, to your point, but there's a lot more that we can do from here. In terms of the overall startups ecosystem in tech, if you look at 10, 15, 20 years ago, India, primarily in the IT segment, was primarily a services business or primarily a services economy, where most of the money that was generated within the IT sector was around some sort of an outsourcing contract. I think the mindset needed to change, and a lot of that has been changing, and especially in the last 5 years, we see that we've made material progress. But at the same time, what we can get to is a whole lot more. So I think we are at the very beginning of the journey as far as startups are concerned within this country.
It's not very often that we get to speak to serial entrepreneurs here on the show, Divyank. So my question to you really is, how are you picking businesses when it comes to business ideas? How are you picking those ideas actually first off that you know are definitely going to make money? And what your advice is for someone watching this interview about how you're ensuring that all of them then are turning profitable?
Sure. So, I got lucky that I really found what I loved doing when I was very, very young. I started programming when I was 8 or 9, and I ran a BBS when I was 13, which is just before the internet came into India in 1995. So around that time, when the internet came in, I was about 14, and I started consulting a lot of corporates on how to get set up in around various services around the internet. I did that for 2 years, and post which I started my first company with my brother, who at the time that when I was consulting, he was running or trying to run a jobs portal at that time, which obviously was very ahead of its time, because when he was trying to do that, India had 50,000 internet users. So when we first started, the idea was we wanted to build a products company, something that was scalable, something that was large. And this was 1998. India just had about 100,000 internet users. So the only two services that we could think of at the time, and that possibly existed at the time, that were internet related, which is what we wanted to focus on, because that's where our expertise lied, was either we became an ISP and we allowed people to connect to the internet using some sort of a service we provide. And the problem with that was we didn't have any money, so we didn't have money to get a license or buy the equipment that was needed for something like that. So we realized that the next thing that people will want is they'll want to set up websites and go online and put their businesses online. And that was essentially our first business. It was to do with websites. So we realized that while we can't build websites because that would be too custom for each client, we decided to provide them web hosting and domain registration services. So these are ancillary services that everyone that has a website needs, and we started providing that starting when I was 16 and my brother was 18, and over time that grew materially, where we eventually exited that one for about 160 million. The next business that I looked at was at around 2005. There was a business called Skenzo that I'd started then. And the idea there was, hey, we were doing well in the hosting and domain registration business, but when I started looking at various businesses on the internet, I realized that the two largest businesses at that point of time, this was around 2005, were online advertising and mass merchant e-commerce. So things like Amazon Online or Walmart Online or Sears Online or various other examples. And when I looked at both those industry segments, I realized that, again, when I look at my own core competence, I didn't know anything about logistics or delivery. And online advertising allowed me to focus purely on tech. So my goal was, how do I get into online advertising and build a large business in there? And the way I thought about that was, let me look at the industry, and I look at the industry, it's large. Everybody in that space has been in the industry for 10 plus years. So I'm obviously a late player when I start then. So I came up with a one-page plan around what is it that I can possibly do in order to build out a large business within this online advertising vertical. And I came up with a 3-step plan, and the plan was start in some niche within the online advertising vertical. And this kind of applies to any industry, for any startup, where the idea is you have to start somewhere. So what is that niche that you can start in, where you have some sort of core strength, you have some sort of relationships, or you have some know-how that is unique, become large in it, and then once you become large enough in it, use that position to go mainstream within that same industry vertical.
So I want to draw on some of your learnings, if I may, as a serial entrepreneur, and ask you to just walk our viewers through one or two incidences perhaps that have served as huge learning opportunities. What advice then you would have for our viewers based on that?
So I think there are a lot of learnings that come along the way for any entrepreneur, and there are going to be different learnings at different points of time. It obviously gets easier every time that you do it. So the next time you already know how to solve several of the problems. In fact, if you look at my journey and my brother's journey, when we first started out, and this goes out to all the folks that start their first business or trying anything literally new for the first time, maybe the first 100 times that you do something, you're not going to be the best at it. In fact, in many instances, you're going to be really bad at it. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. The learning takes time, and there are no shortcuts, so you have to keep learning. But as long as you're willing to learn, and as long as you're willing to evolve, and as long as you, with every failure, try to analyze what went wrong and become better at it, you will eventually figure the solution out.
As such a young business owner, as well as you're completely self-taught when it comes to your businesses, has age ever been a disadvantage? Has it been an advantage? Has it been a disadvantage maybe? Just talk to us about that. And I also want to talk about the role that the education system plays, whether in India or elsewhere. How can more educational institutions, whether it's schools, whether it's high school, college, higher education, how can they encourage more people to think like entrepreneurs at a younger and younger age?
Firstly, I think the earlier someone starts, the better it is, because it takes a lot of hours to get to knowing and learning something correctly. So, but at the same time, you could start at any age. I think there have been enough examples in the history of the world across race, nationality, gender, whatever combination that you want, and you will realize that there are people that have started early, there are people that have started much, much later in their lives, there are people that have started after they are 60 and become very, very successful. So I don't think where you start matters, it's more about what you do once you start. And if you haven't started, start now, because now is as good a time as any. I think, yes, absolutely, I had an advantage because I started early, because it allowed me to spend those many more years on specializing in doing what I do today. I mean, if you look at my situation today, I've been doing this for the last 22 years, and that has definitely helped. In terms of the education and schooling systems, absolutely. I think especially in India, if you look at schooling, in fact, not just India, if you look at anywhere in the world, every parent wants their kids to get the right education. And the reason that they want that is they want the best for their kids. Most schools in most locations, but even more so if you look at India, a lot of the curriculum is extremely old, and a lot of it is not immediately applicable. I'm not saying that any learning is, as long as you're learning, any learning is good learning, and that is kind of right. But at the same time, everyone has limited time. So if we could improve and make a lot more relevant as to what we're learning, it's only going to be better. I think the teachers in India are awesome. I think a lot of them want the right things, because they're definitely not doing it for the salary that they get. So I think it's because they care. But if we can improve our framework itself, I think that will help both the teachers and the parents wanting to get to the objective that they want to get to, which is getting the students to learn a lot more about anything that's far more applicable in today's world.
Divyank, thanks very much for your time here on the Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that's our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, here's how you get in touch. leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com is our email ID. Get in touch with us on social media. Tweet at me personally at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.